Good evening, everybody, and you're all very, very welcome to the show. I hope you enjoy what happens here over the next hour or so. And to find out who our first guest is, I'll hand you over to the MC for the evening, the beautiful Mr. Fred Cook.
Thank you, Tommy. Well, our next guest is Aoife Commons.
Hello. How are you?
How are you?
Great now, very nice to meet you.
You haven't a clue who I am, do you?
No, I don't, no.
And I met you before, no. I waited your table about 8 years ago in Galway, so don't worry.
Oh, really?
That's not why I'm here.
All right. What's your story, Aoife?
Well, my name is Aoife Commons. I'm
Yeah.
a nurse from Galway, but I actually live with HIV, so I'm here to talk to you about that.
Ah, right, OK.
Yes. I think you're a bit familiar with it from
A few
previous
years,
guests.
A few years ago, we had Robbie.
Yes.
I can't remember Robbie's surname.
Robbie Lawler,
On
yes.
talking about it.
He's actually here today with me.
Yeah.
Back in the green room as a bit of support.
What's the... how'd you get it?
How did I get it? Love answering that question. I actually was seeing a guy for about 6 weeks and we had both been tested. So I got tested and I got negative. And then he told me he'd been tested about 2 months before I met him. And he got a negative as well. We stopped using condoms. And 4 days later, he gets a phone call because we donated blood and he was actually positive. So it was a false negative. So
Why are we getting tested?
So, well, I like to get tested before having a new sexual partner. And I asked him, had he been tested before we started having unprotected sex? And so
That seems a little over the top, if you don't mind me saying.
Sorry, I know. How dare I be so safe, you know? It didn't work.
That's what you get.
I know. Yeah,
Really?
so
That sounds unusual.
he got it. Yeah, so this is all new to me. When I got diagnosed, there's a thing called a window period with HIV where it can take 6 to 8 weeks to come up positive in the blood. So he had only been tested about 2 weeks before his last unprotected sex. So it was a false negative.
Were you the only person that you knew who was insisting on this thing of getting tested before you started sleeping with somebody new?
No.
Really? It was kind of like a...
No, few people do. Previous partners, I would have made sure they were tested. Probably not always as resilient, but like...
And what put it into your head to be... I mean, it makes sense from a certain angle, but what put you in that angle, like?
Well, I guess I'm a nurse as well, so I feel like maybe gave me the spook a little bit.
Okay. Yeah.
I also think just as you get older, you're just not as reckless, maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. I just wasn't, because I think chlamydia, gonorrhea, even syphilis is on the rise.
Yeah.
So I've kind of been hearing that, and I was like, I don't really want to get something that's going to affect my fertility, because chlamydia and gonorrhea untreated can affect fertility. So that was what I was not in any way thinking HIV. That was not what I was worried about, but that is what I got.
And what years would this have been in Galway?
I actually got diagnosed in Sydney, so this was 2020, height of COVID. So that was fun.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I was stuck in Sydney and got the diagnosis, and it took me ages to get diagnosed because they wouldn't believe me. So we had sex on the Thursday for the first time, unprotected.
What?
And we gave blood the same day. And then on the Monday, he got the phone call and they called us into the clinic and they said, look, there's this tablet called post-exposure prophylaxis. It's called PEP. Yeah. And they said, oh, this might really work. You know, if you had sex on Thursday and on Saturday, so it won't work if you were exposed. You're not always exposed when you have unprotected sex with someone with HIV. But they said you might have been exposed on the Thursday and on the Saturday, so it'll work for the Saturday. So they were like, we'll give you the PEP and retest you in 6 weeks. And I took the meds for 6 weeks, and that was the longest 6 weeks of my whole life. And then I got a test after that, and I came back negative. And they said, look, you didn't catch it from him. Go out and live your life. Enjoy yourself. Use condoms. Be safe. And about a week later, I was so incredibly ill that I had to go to hospital. And they said, oh, your bloods are a bit funny. Looks like you have a virus. And I said, oh, OK. You know, I was recently exposed to HIV. My partner had it. So do you think maybe this is what it is? And they said, no, definitely not. That's definitely not what's going on. Sent me home. And then 2 days later, I was even sicker again. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't lie down, couldn't sit still. My back was sore. I was fevering. I had rash, everything. And I went back into the hospital and I said, I really think this could be HIV. Like, I've broken out in a rash, which is a quite common symptom of seroconversion of HIV. And they said, no, we don't think it's HIV. We actually think it might be a malignancy in your spine. So we actually want to get you an outpatient MRI to see if you've got cancer. So I was freaking out thinking I got cancer. Missed a COVID, borders are shut, family's back home. And then 2 days later, I go back to the hospital again, and I said, I'm not leaving until I get an MRI and a blood test for HIV. And then they finally tested me, and then they said, oh, actually, no, you don't have cancer, but you do have HIV. So that was fun.
And what were the conversations like between you and the fella?
It was interesting because right around the time of diagnosis, I was kind of thinking, oh, maybe this isn't working. And then when he got the diagnosis, he was so shocked and he was so upset that we really bonded. It was like a trauma bond nearly between us, and we stayed together. And I felt like I was so anxious because I was waiting for my result, but I felt like I was also trying to be there for him. So I felt like there was just so much weight on my shoulders in those 6 weeks because he was devastated. He couldn't believe that this had happened to him. And so I was trying to be support for him while I didn't want to show any vulnerability with him either because I didn't want him to feel guilty. So I was trying to be strong for him and strong for myself, and while trying to figure out if I had this life-changing illness.
And where did he catch it?
He actually just got it from an ex-partner. These things happen.
Was Sydney particularly rampant with it, or?
He had just moved to Australia. We'd both just recently moved to Australia, so he actually caught it in his home country. I won't say where he's from, but he's not from Ireland.
Yeah.
And I caught it from him in Sydney, so.
Why do you not want to say where he's from?
No.
No, why though?
Oh, why? Oh, just to preserve his identity and it's his story, not mine,
Okay.
So, yeah. Just like to respect his anonymity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But saying the
Country? I don't know,
do you think we'll track him down if he said France?
Someone might, yeah. Say it's France for the crack. Okay. It wasn't France, we'll say it's France for the crack, it's France.
Okay, yeah. It seems like HIV had almost, the window of opportunity had gone maybe 15 years before that. So were you?
It wasn't anything that was on my radar.
Yeah.
I've never in a million years thought that it was going to happen to me. I remember a few years ago, a friend of mine had unprotected sex with a guy she was seeing, and she said, oh my God, what if I've gotten something? What if I've HIV? And I laughed in her face. And I said, girls don't get that.
Yeah.
It's very, very unusual that a woman would get HIV. Mainly men, only gay men get that. Like, I literally laughed in her face. I feel like that was karma.
Yeah.
That's why I got it.
Yeah, it's fairly cruel karma now if you can get HIV for just saying the wrong thing.
I know, yeah. Maybe that wasn't it, but...
So, can you tell me then about the time of full diagnosis? And
yeah, that was tough. I was in hospital when they came in like a 4-bed ward, curtains all around me, and they just kind of walked in. They said, oh, look, your blood tests have come back. We're going to have to send another one just to make sure that it definitely is positive, but it's come back with HIV cells in it. So, okay, HIV antibodies in your blood. So they were like, we'll take another blood test. But at that point, I knew. And you know what? I was actually relieved because I was so sure I had cancer at that point, because they were really saying, cancer, 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 your bloods are all off, this is happening, you've got back pain, we really think you've got cancer in your spine. So to hear, oh no, your MRI was clear, but you have HIV, I was like, oh, thank God. I don't have to go through chemo and radiotherapy, and I don't have to fly home or get my parents to come out here. It was like, okay, I only take one tablet every day, that's it. So I was like, I'll just take my tablets and I'll go about my life. And that's all I've done.
Who's in the family?
I've a brother and a sister, older brother and sister, and my parents. So my mum found my meds. She's doing a bit of snooping, looking for a nail file. She's always giving out when I say this, because she's like, I was. She found the meds and she did a bit of Googling.
And I just happened to find your...
Actually, I happened to find she found a bag of pharmacy meds, and she goes, what's in here? And then she opened the bag, and then she took out the box, and then she said, oh, I'll just Google this, And then she found out. So, yeah, they found out about a year before I came out publicly.
Okay, and what was their reaction?
Because Mum had done the Googling, she kind of had educated herself a little bit, so she knew a little bit more. But I remember her saying, I can't believe you have AIDS. And I said, I don't have AIDS.
Yeah.
AIDS is a complication from untreated HIV. I don't have AIDS, I have HIV. And then...
Just to remind everybody again that HIV is the initial
virus.
The virus, and it can develop into AIDS if it's not looked after.
Exactly,
okay.
yeah. So a lot of people think AIDS is the name of the virus, but it's not. And I always get a little bit cross when people mix them up, but it's all about educating.
Of course,
so when Mum said that, I was like, no. And then she said, look, your father knows I found these meds, but I haven't really, do you want me to tell him? And I said, no, I'll do it myself. Dad would be a little bit more conservative than my mum, so I was nervous. And he wasn't initially very happy. He was a bit upset, I won't lie. But after do you
mind if I ask you, like, how old is your dad?
66.
Okay, all right. So, because I remember once telling my dad something fairly big, And he went, like he couldn't stop his initial reaction, which was, "You fucking idiot."
It wasn't as aggressive, but it wasn't great. No, it was kind of like, "How did you manage that? How did you do this? How did you get that?" And I said, "Look, I was being safe." "Well, you obviously weren't," he said. So once I explained to him that we had gotten tested and we got a false negative and we used condoms, and he was still very upset. And I said, "Look, Dad, I could cut my hand here now and I could be bleeding, and you could have a cut in your hand. I could shake your hand and I won't be able to pass it to you. My meds are working. I'm completely undetectable. I'm completely untransmissible." But it just was going in one ear and it was going out the other. He was not listening.
Yeah.
So I went to my nurse specialist in Galway and I said, "Look, can you bring my parents in and have a chat with them? I think if they hear it from another medical professional, because I am a nurse, but you're not going to listen to your daughter."
Yeah.
So if you hear from you, they might go in a little bit, and they'll be able to ask you more questions. So they went in and they had a chat with her, and then they came home and that was it. They were fine then. It took a little while, but they're very supportive now. They're always going out and telling people, "Oh, you know, Mum's meeting people in the park. Oh yeah, she was on the radio there the last day, or she was talking to this and this and that." And so yeah, they're.
Aoife's great. She has the HIV.
She has the HIV. She was literally met someone in Aldi car park in Knocknacarra, and she said, "Oh, you know, she can have unprotected sex. She can't even pass it on to any future partners." I was like, "Oh, Mum, please stop talking about my sex life in Aldi, please."
Yeah.
Great.
Do you feel unlucky that you got it?
Definitely, it was definitely unfortunate how it happened, considering I was trying my best to not get it.
Yeah.
But I feel like it happened for a reason. There must be some sort of reason why it happened. So I just gone with that.
What possible reason could there be?
I don't know, but I guess I'm using it as a way to educate now and to advocate for other women with HIV. That's what I'm using it now to do.
Okay.
So that's what I'm telling myself.
Yeah.
Make myself feel better about it.
And what's your message?
HIV doesn't discriminate. Anyone can get it. So, and it's not a death sentence anymore. You know, you take your tablets, you get 2 blood tests a year, you can have unprotected sex with any partners. As long as you're taking your meds and you're not detectable, you can have unprotected sex, you can't pass it on. It's not a death sentence anymore. People think it's this horrible disease and you have to wear gloves to touch a patient that has HIV, and you know, you have to be scared of them, and it's not like that anymore. We're not a danger, and people really treat you like you are, and it's a horrible feeling.
Yeah.
I was terrified at the thought of dating and things like that now, but I have a new partner now. Doesn't bother him. It's just been amazing. I can't. Yeah. It just living with this big secret that's right here, and it's just a horrible feeling, and you're lying to people saying, "Oh, you were really sick that time in Australia. What was wrong?" "Oh, I just had a virus." And or why? Like, I remember finishing nights and I had to go across to the clinic to pick up my meds, and the girl's like, "Why haven't you gone home?" And I've got an appointment with the physio. Like, you're just lying about where you're going, and you're hiding your meds, and if you're going on a girls' trip, I had to hide my meds under my pillow once, and my friend found them and she said, "What are these?" Like, it's just easier to just be honest.
And so in terms of, say, unprotected sex with your partner now, can you pass the HIV virus on?
No, not while I'm on my tablets, and I take them regularly, and I get my blood tested. No, he's at no risk.
No risk. Wow.
No. Yeah, it's great, and I can have children, no risk. Yeah, it's brilliant, really.
So part of the advocacy thing, is it a safe sex advocate that you are, or is it? Is part of the work encouraging people to get tested and to always have protected sex, and is that part of your work now?
I think so. I think it's more just like if people get regularly tested and if they're more aware and if they're open and honest about their sexual health and say, "I got tested last week," or "I need to get tested," or "I want to use a condom." It's just about communication. That's really all it is. Just be honest and communicate with your partners. And I think as well as that, I want to just be a voice for women. I feel like there was a very lacking voice for women living with HIV. There's a lot of men, I think, not a huge amount, but there's definitely more men than women. And I just felt like we were kind of forgotten about nearly in statistics and online and things like that. So I just kind of wanted to be saying we're here and we exist.
Do you talk to people, young people, much about sex?
Yeah, I think so. My friends come to me sometimes. Like, I'll have a friend saying, "Oh, should I get tested? When should I get tested? How long after having unprotected sex should I get tested? 6 weeks for HIV." Or they'll say, where can I get free testing? Because there's anonymous. You can actually order test kits for free to your house. It's completely anonymous. Because some people, Galway's small. You go into the clinic in Galway, you could know someone. People are very,
You've probably had sex with them.
Yeah, exactly. There's someone over there that they've had sex with. They don't, oh God, what's she in here with? What am I? Maybe I have it too. So it's, it's anonymous. So Galway's too small. That's what I say. But things like that, So I think people come to me, and I do peer support for people that are newly diagnosed and things like that as well. So it's a nice community. Yeah.
Yeah. What's the visibility of sexual health clinics in colleges and stuff like that? Is that fairly prominent?
Well, I remember when I was in NUIG in Galway, there was the health centre, and they were giving out free condoms, and there was like the encouragement to get tested, and there'd be posters up and things. So I think it is getting better, definitely. There's still a long way to go. I think nearly secondary schools need to start as well. I think it needs to start maybe in Leaving Cert kind of year, just education, not throwing free condoms out to teenagers, but just the education part of it. Like when I grew up, all I could remember is do not get pregnant, do not get pregnant, do not get pregnant. I don't remember everyone saying, you are at risk for all these STIs when I was in secondary school, do you know? I just feel like as long as they're aware that it's a risk when they start having sex, do you know?
That's a big thing about the secondary schools, isn't it? That's kind of, because we don't like to think of even though when we were in secondary school, we would have been dying for any type of intimacies. Do you know what I mean? You would, you'd walk 3 miles in the rain just to get your hand up someone's jumper. Do you know? So, and the fact that our kids are much more sexually active than probably we're comfortable with.
Yeah.
So, in an ideal kind of scenario, what would you like to see?
I think more education in schools, just more education in healthcare even. I think that's, to me, because I suppose I'm a nurse, I see a lot of stigma and discrimination towards people living with HIV within healthcare. And that's really disheartening because that's where people should know more, So I think we need to focus on healthcare and we need to focus on young people.
So that's it. The first one is in ignorance amongst medical staff.
Yeah.
About it.
That's a huge issue.
Really?
To me, I think, yeah. Like nurse saying to my face before she knew I was positive, I would never touch a HIV person without gloves on. Like, you're hearing that from medical staff who should know better.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's great that educate the teens and the people in colleges and they're aware, but like the fact that our healthcare staff aren't even fully educated is worrying. So I think we just need to start from the ground up.
Yeah. What's the worst thing that happened to you as a result of catching the virus?
Oh, that's a good one. I'm trying to think. Probably like telling my family was the hardest part and the most upsetting part. But once that was over, it was fine. And
the best thing that's happened?
This kind of up here now, being Tommy Tiernan, TV. The best thing.
A small price to pay.
I think the best thing has just been how much happier I am. This year has been one of the best years of my whole life. And I've suffered a lot from anxiety and depression over the years, in general, not even in terms of my diagnosis. And this year has just been incredible. I've been so much happier. I feel myself, more confident, and I'm just free, just completely free.
Wow. Are you able to point to a cause in your imagination for the anxiety and for the depression?
It started when I always remember even being an anxious kid. I was always like a really stressed kid. Like back in it now, I'm like, oh, that was me having anxiety, not realising what it was.
Yeah.
It started when around my Leaving Cert. I remember being very anxious as a 16-year-old, 17-year-old. And it kind of got progressively worse to the point where I wasn't really leaving my house. I was going to college and I was coming home. I wasn't going out drinking. I wasn't going on holidays. But one day I kind of just said, geez, if I keep avoiding everything that scares me, I'll never do anything.
Yeah.
So I kind of just started slowly pushing myself to do things that were scarier. And I did a head shave for charity a couple of years ago. And I'm on antidepressants, not ashamed about talking about it. A lot of people are. Helps me, keeps me stable, keeps me happy. So why not?
You sound like a brave heart.
I don't know.
I think you are. I think there's something that in the details of the different stories that there's this commitment to keep going. That's incredible, actually.
I like talking. I like having the chats.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why.
What does your work involve now?
I work in an acute medical unit, so it's all people getting referred in by GPs for different things, or we take a lot of people from emergency, so people like headaches, chest pains, respiratory issues, things like that. And I love it, but I want to specialise in sexual health. I think that's what's calling me. So.
And what does that look like, you doing that?
I'd love to specialise in something in terms of HIV, so I'm hoping there could possibly be a job coming up soon, fingers crossed, in HIV nurse specialist, so I'll probably apply for that, and who knows?
Yeah.
But that's what I hope the future is, nursing within sexual health. And just, I think if I'd been diagnosed and the nurse or the doctor sitting across from me said, I have it too, live a completely normal life, it would have been a lot easier, I think.
Yeah. It's been a pleasure talking to you,
Thank you so much for having me, it was really fun.
Thanks for coming onto the show.
Thank you.
Fair. Well, you're all very welcome back to the second half, everybody. Freddie, who's next?
Tommy, our next guest is Dermot Whelan.
Ah, Dermot.
Hello. Hey, Tommy. How are you, fella? Good to see you.
Yeah, great to see you now.
You're looking dapper.
Am I?
Yes, you look like kind of like a Buddhist from Inishmore.
Oh, I go for that. I
Good.
settle for that.
Yeah, it's a good look.
So you quit the radio.
I did.
So these are the headlines I know about Dermot Whelan. You quit the radio and you've gone full time into mindfulness propaganda.
Yeah.
Is that
That's pretty much it.
Really?
Yeah. I'm a meditation teacher. I blend the stand-up and meditation,
okay?
which sounds weird. But it's something I've been doing for about the last 5 years, teaching. I've meditated for well over a decade more.
Yeah.
But I think people are ready to get the information in a different way, and I think a lot of the time the whole world of say meditation or mindfulness is presented in a way that a lot of people can't relate to, particularly blokes.
It sounds boring.
Yeah, and it's a little bit, even the word wellness kind of gives me a little bit of the ick, because I think it has an inbuilt smugness to it. It's kind of like, oh, I'm into wellness, right? Are you into wellness? And if you're not, you're somehow getting life wrong.
Yeah.
And I think it's been very marketed, the whole, I guess it's exclusive, it's marketed to a particular group of people. It's got a very female slant and a particular type of woman, I think. And that's great if, you can relate to that. But I think, if you're a lad in a high-vis driving a digger, you need this information to be presented to you in a different way. And all it's trying to do is, calm your stress response long enough so that you can get through your day and feeling like yourself, and sleep a bit better and have your mood a bit more stable. And, it's not that suddenly we have to, I think people have, I had a lot of preconceptions when I came to this originally, I thought the whole meditation thing was for, people who got up in the morning and just covered themselves in hummus. It was
a nice way to start the day.
Yeah, great exfoliator.
Well, if you had someone to lick it off,
yeah.
That would be better. The fella driving the truck would go for that now.
Yeah, just the hummus and the high-vis jacket. That's it.
And the missus licking it off. That's a vital. That's the. I don't know what it's going to do for her stress levels.
Window into your own fetishes here.
Totally.
So I realised that, I could blend my two worlds really, because I think for many years I had felt like there was a kind of a, the public and private, and there was the private kind of more quieter meditator, a bit of a deeper thinker, and then the jazz hands performer, and I used to wonder how I was ever going to make these two, or if ever those two worlds would blend.
What makes you qualified to do that?
Well, I trained as a meditation teacher. I worked with a guy called David G, who's based in California. And I guess he's one of the leading stress management experts and meditation teachers in the States. And I suppose life experience is a great thing, you know. The reason I ended up doing this is because of my own life experience. I didn't just wake up in the morning and go, hey, wellness seems cool. Why don't I try that? You know, I found meditation because I was struggling myself, you know, and I had a panic attack on the way to perform at the Kilkenny Cat Laughs back in 2007. So I guess, you know, when you're sitting in the back of an ambulance breathing into a brown paper bag, which, you know, I don't think it was an official HSE brown paper bag. It did say Centra on the side of it. But, you know, those moments kind of, you know, something, I guess the universe has a way of sort of gently nudging you in a particular direction.
What caused the panic attack?
I guess, you know, I was doing breakfast radio, so I was up at 4:30. I was doing comedy in the clubs 3 or 4 nights a week, so I was getting home after midnight. And, you know, I had 2 small kids at home. They weren't mine. I just...
Get access.
I just pushed the wrong trolley out of the supermarket. But yeah, I guess so, you know, I had those things going on. But the difference between me, you know, then and me now is that now I know there are things in my mental toolbox I can reach for and things that I know work. And, you know, for me, there's I know my stressors and my triggers.
What are the things then that push you into not coping?
Sleep is a massive one. I really have to keep an eye on my sleep. I'm far better now at saying no to things, you know, that I guess in the past...
Sex and stuff.
No, I'm still pretty open. Depends who's asking. But yeah, and I guess getting out of my own way is huge for me. And by that, I mean, the more I can find a quiet place, the more I will quieten down those thoughts that tend to put roadblocks in my way. And I guess for me, meditation allowed me to do that, to get better. I don't always do it perfectly, but get better at stopping the stress from one thing moving into the next, you know.
Can I ask you, how much of a business is it?
Well, now it has to be a business because you know, I'm literally feeding my family from it. So I'm lucky that I've been able to work with some good companies, and I think companies are more open now to helping their staff and allowing them time to maybe handle the stress and deadlines that work brings. You know, I think it really depends on the company. Sometimes you get a sense that maybe it's a bit lip servicey.
Well, also that maybe the company ultimately just wants to make its staff more productive, and that they don't really care about their mental health is only important in so much as they can work, or it stops them from working. I just think there's a very, and I'd be, you know, I want to have a robust conversation with you about it. You know, that meditation began as part of a spiritual discipline. It began as, say, part of the Buddhist tradition or parts of the Islamic tradition. And now it's they've kind of severed themselves off from where they came from. And now the whole mindfulness thing is a multi-billion-dollar industry that maybe, I don't know, there's just something about that I find a little bit uneasy with it. The help is real, and the effect that it has on you is real. But sometimes there's the whole wellness industry just seems a little bit untrustworthy. Have you had any encounters with that, or are you troubled by any of that, or what's your feeling about all of that?
You know, of course it has come from ancient spiritual traditions. And a lot of people are very open to that. And, you know, a couple of thousand years ago, religion, you know, that was the language and how it was presented. But for a lot of people today, for many different reasons, they're not comfortable with that.
Yeah.
So it needs to be presented in a way that, again, is accessible. So if I can present it in a way that the yoga pants mom, or the lad in the digger, or the person in the office, or the stressed out mom or dad, they all should be able to relate to it, you know, because I think a lot of us we've lost the ability to just sit in quietness with ourselves. You know, there's a great study that came out about 8 years ago that they did, which I find fascinating but reassuring, in that it was in the University of Virginia, and they got a few hundred people in this study. Just all they asked them to do was sit in a room with no distractions and listen to their own thoughts for between 6 and 15 minutes. That's all they had to do. But they said, look, we're going to put a button on the table in front of you, and if you press that button, it will administer a very painful electric shock. And they're like, oh, do we have to press the button? They're like, you don't have to press the button. We're just telling you it's there. And off they went. 67% of men electrocuted themselves.
Totally. For the buzz.
Literally.
Totally.
Yeah, so 2/3 of us hurt ourselves in
but
the room.
You can't tell people you can press a button, you get the electric shock and not expect them to do. I would totally do that.
Well, it's one thing saying don't press the button in front of you, but if you say it's actually hooked up to, you know, an electric current and it will really hurt.
Yeah, come on.
Were you one of these kids when you're at the side of the GA pitch?
Let's piss on the fence.
Yeah, exactly. Touching blades of grass off it. Try it with a hurley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The question would be if we were sitting opposite each other, and if I pressed the button, you'd get a shock. That would be the test. I'm not sure I'd do that.
I think people would be leaning on the button if it electrocuted someone else. But yeah, a quarter of women pressed the button. So the women were better at, I guess, being comfortable with their own minds. There was one guy in the study who electrocuted himself 190 times in 6 minutes, which is, I guess, maybe an interesting fetish.
It's exciting.
Maybe he just fell asleep on the button. But I guess, you know, I find that interesting because it shows that we've been conditioned away from being able to just sit with ourselves and actually being comfortable listening to what's happening in our minds, to the point where we would rather be distracted with a phone or whatever else it happens to be, or anaesthetize ourselves or whatever's around. But literally, we'd rather hurt ourselves
I totally get that term.
than listen to our own minds.
Even as you're describing it, I'm there. How bad can it be?
But do you think would you
it's not
press
going to
it?
kill me. It's
Would
not
you-
going to kill me because we're in a hospital. But so it'll be a bit of a.
Yeah. Would you press
And
it
who-
more
and-
than once?
Well, I don't know, but I tell you afterwards, the fellas who would be laughing the most would be the fellas that had touched it. All the guys who didn't touch it, they'd be going, you know, delighted with themselves. But the other 67% would be laughing. You mad bastard. You touched it 8 times. I started licking it towards the end.
It threw me out because I pissed on it.
I took off the lid and I put it against my balls. Oh, some crack. If you ran that in Ireland, that's what would happen.
Yeah.
There's your fella in the high
Yeah.
vis jacket. Dermot! I think I'm okay now.
Study
Burnt hair going
inconclusive.
through the hospital.
Yeah, that's just the scientists shaking their heads going, back to Virginia, guys.
Yeah.
It's not going to work here in Ireland.
Are you, now that you kind of step back from the adrenaline of stand-up, and I know it's a part of the show, but that kind of, you know, going up in a comedy club in front of a beery crowd, and step back from the radio, which you were very funny on, are you able to see with a bit more clarity of what it was doing to you?
I I don't think it was doing anything in particular. I mean, I did it for 20 years, you know, and Dave, I was with Dave for those 20 years.
Yeah.
I think I had like 6 months of overnight DJing before myself and Dave were put together. And he's still my best mate. And the reason we stayed together for so long was because we were best friends. And we actually never had an argument in 20 years, which is weird. But so obviously I miss the radio in terms of I miss the crack, you know, like it's, you know yourself from, you know, the radio you've done and the podcast and being in a room with funny people and your friends is great fun.
So where did you get the courage to do that? Where did you get the support and the ammunition and the strength to kind of go, I'm going to go for this thing?
The people around me are incredibly supportive. And my wife, Karina, is just an amazing person who is always, you know, my meditation teacher always asks, who are the people in your front row? Who are the people who are rooting for you, cheering you on, no matter what you're doing? And, you know, she has always been and always will be absolutely in my front row, you know. Weirdly, there was a conversation with a financial advisor, which was the conversation I was dreading the most because, you know, it's a risk. You're turning your back on a perfectly good salary. And I just thought that I was going to sit down in front of him and he was going to start laughing and going, here are your projections. And he was actually the guy who convinced me the most, because I had said to him, look, how many people come into you like this, like I am, saying, I'm thinking of doing this, and then they come back in 6 months later and go, I made an awful mistake, please tell me what to do. He was like, none. I was like, what? None. No, nobody has done that. Nobody has come back in and gone, I've made a terrible mistake, I should never have left my job. But he said, I'll tell you what I do meet a lot of. And they're the people who come into me and say, I'm in my late 50s or I'm in my 60s and I really wish I had taken that chance. And I guess I've always been the kind of person who likes to try new things and has been willing to give stuff a go. But I guess, you know, it can be tricky when there's people depending on you. It's
an inspiring story, Dermot. There's something about it that's very true, and it's great to hear it. If people want to get in contact with you in terms of stuff, how do they do that?
I have my website, dermotwhelan.com. Have the Mindful podcast as well, so people can check me out there.
Good luck with the work and fair play to you.
Thanks, Tommy.
Thank you. Welcome back to the third half, everybody. Freddie, who's next?
Tommy, our next guest is Roisin Murphy.
You came back from war.
I did.
No.
Nice to see you.
Great to see you. How have you been?
I've been good, yeah.
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 Busy?
Very, this year, yeah.
In what way now?
Oh, well, I was putting out a record, Hit Parade, you're on it.
Yeah.
And touring and making everything that goes with the record and travelling and doing loads of... I was supposed to sit this way, apparently.
Kenny Everett. That was done in the best possible taste.
It was.
How are the gigs going?
Gigs are going great, really good, yeah.
Is it festival stuff as well as kind of solo shows?
Did a fair few festivals in the summer, doing another one here, doing all together now in August here.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's been a good run.
Who goes to your gigs?
All kinds of people.
Like, what's the...
All kinds of age groups. Once I met a grandmother, a mother and a daughter, a granddaughter.
Yeah. Is it mainly a female audience you have?
No, it's very mixed.
Yeah.
Yeah. You should come.
No, I love the music. I'm just curious as to that thing of stepping out in front of a crowd and kind of spotting who's there, and then on a tour kind of going, oh, they're my people, type of thing?
Yeah, well, I really, really like my audience.
Yeah.
I'm very blessed that way, you know. Like, I do look out at them and think, gee, you lot are lovely, you know. I'm not sure if that's always the case for performers, you know.
Yeah.
But I feel that way about my...
So I read this thing recently about praise, and the idea of it was that it's very dangerous because you want to repeat it, and
Yeah.
it's kind of a trap.
Yeah.
So how do you protect yourself against, silly question, how do you protect yourself against that kind of success?
What kind of success?
So there would be, say, a person does a bit of work and it's highly praised.
Yes.
And they, okay, well, I like this feeling, and something in them wants to repeat it.
I've never felt satisfied with the amount of praise that I get.
Well, that's probably...
Honestly, I mean, I always think, okay, I can do one better than that. It's not ever that I sit back and go, okay, made it, did the thing that I wanted to do. It's the next thing is more interesting. And I never feel like I've landed. That's been the nature of my career, I think, in all honesty. It's been a bit of a scrabble and a fight, and
Yeah, of course,
30
yeah.
years of following the way I go, you know, my nose with music, without a thought for sort of demographics, and those things don't come into it. It's like, is this in my life? These people in my life, they're there for a reason, they're interesting, let's go ahead and work and make something.
Are you under financial pressure?
I'm not.
And how has that happened?
Don't know. I really don't know. Just... I've never been extremely wealthy, you know, but music has paid for my life, and I'm very grateful for that.
And is it a thing of you chase one thing, which is the, I don't know if it's the adrenaline or the beauty or the drama or...
All of them.
Or the flying or whatever it is. That's what you chase.
Yeah.
And then as a reward...
You get a few quid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that...
That's how it feels, yeah.
Wow. So the gig in August at All Together Now is preceded by what?
Well, I've full tour in the UK, full tour in Europe, South America. I've just been in America. I've been all over.
Are you good on a bus?
I'm very good. I've got a very good superpower, actually. I am a good napper.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I can nap anywhere. I just had a nap, a quick nap before I came on here.
Yeah, I'm curious about as you get older, because when you're young and you're on the bus, it's awful crack.
Oh, well, it's
But as
funny
you get
because
older
in
and you're
the
on the-
beginning on the bus was like, excuse me, like, are you really expecting? People go on the bus and they sleep in a little cabin on the bus, and then they get dropped off at the gig, and then they do the gig, and then they get back on the bus, and they sleep on the bus, and then they go and do another gig. And I was like, really? No, people don't do this. And they were like, no, this is actually what people do. So it was a bit of a shock, a bit like when you bring your first baby home, you know. It was really like, you wake up
The baby's still
2,
here.
3 times a night, and you have to keep it alive. But it's a bit like that. But then you get used to it, or you end up unlocking the fun.
Would you be able to give me an example of a day at home?
There isn't a normal day at home.
How old are the kids?
She's 14 and he's 11.
Okay. So in terms of, do you get the mornings to yourself? Are you a
No.
late night person? Are you...
No, I'm a morning person,
Okay.
especially since having children, yeah. I get up at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, my latest.
Get them out the door to school?
I do the whole thing if I'm there, but I'm not there much these days.
Yeah.
I have
I'm
an incredible partner to do most of that at the
I'm
moment.
curious as to the day at home in terms of the work.
Yeah.
And how those two things...
And then they go off to school, and I don't drive them because I don't drive. So usually Sebby would take them, or it might be the girl that works with me, Isabella, and then we'll start work on emails and You know, she'll tell me I have interviews, and
Okay.
and then we start collecting the kids. It's sort of before you blink.
But in terms of singing then and coming up with lyrics, and when does that happen?
Oh, you're talking about that sort of time.
Well, I'm
Well, it's seasonal work. It's
Okay.
seasonal work. So when I'm putting out a record, they're busy. I'm too busy to be doing much of that. I can squeeze in the odd here and there. And then when that calms down, I'll get back to it again, yeah. And then that would be that I like to write in the morning.
Yeah.
And then come back to it later on, or not. But I do like to get in the morning to write.
Do you get nervous before shows?
A little bit, but not much. Not like I used to. No. Because there's no point to it. So I try to remind myself there's no point being panicking. It's a bit like my dad used to say, there's no point being shy. Waste your life being shy. So I try to remind myself there's no point. Do you get?
If I'm on the road, I don't
When
get
you get in a
nervous before
flow,
shows.
yeah.
But I know that before a show, I have to find the place that ideas will come from. If that makes sense, I can't just walk straight onto it. I have to kind of isolate for a while and try and get in there. I used to do these Wim Hof breathing technique things. I used to like hyperventilate for half an hour and then hold my breath for 10 minutes.
Hold your breath for 10 minutes?
Well, I'd breathe intermittently after 10 minutes, but just to change my to not to be the daytime Tommy.
Yeah.
And to be this other. When there's a daytime Roisin and a nighttime Roisin.
There surely is, yeah.
You know.
But there's a long process for us, you know, especially when we're on tour, like, you know, we roll in, all of us, and it takes time for everything to get set up. And I tend to not like to go on big trips, you know, around town and stuff.
Yeah.
I like to stay pretty close to home. I'm not like the band in that sense.
Yeah.
The band go off like, oh, we'll hire BMXs and stuff, and they come back with broken hand and all of it.
Yeah.
Do
Do you feel sad staying in the bus? Like,
No, I feel delighted staying in the venue, and there's a lot to do for me. You know, I have a good few bits and bobs. I've got to get steamed and organise what I'm doing, and then I like to have a nice palatial sort of time of it in my backstage, and I like to have a relaxed sound check. And I don't like to run around before. I just like to be there, cosy in there with the crew, not the band. And because I'm more like crew than the band in a way. I'm less free than the band.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm there and I just focus all day.
Yeah.
All day.
How's your voice these days, and how has your voice changed? Are you able to, since you started?
I was never one for hitting super high notes, you know, and I fell into it, so I didn't really feel like a singer for many years, and I had to find my way around my voice. And in some ways it's got better, my voice, and in other ways it is aging. So, it's mentally better, physically maybe not, you know.
But no, I was listening to Lucinda Williams recently. And I saw a real old clip of her, and her voice was kind of real lightness to it, and it was lovely. And then I listened to an album she did 3 years ago, and it was brilliant. It was down here. It was fantastic. So I wonder, is there there's good stuff to come with aging?
Oh, absolutely.
In terms of the voice.
Always, yeah. With everything, every part of you, there's good stuff to come with aging, I
Really?
think.
Well,
I like old people. They're my favourite type of people. I mean, this is the truth. Since I was a child, I only wanted to be around old people.
Yeah.
That's why them dying is really annoying me now, like, because they're going and they're taking this whole world with them. And that's something that I'm struggling with, I think, now, is sort of like being old enough now to see things pass, you know, worlds pass. and also with your children. They grow up and they're not children anymore. So I think there's a bit of me that's finding that hard to process.
Why do you like old people so much?
Oh, I love them. They're better than young people. I love them. But was certainly our culture anyway down there, where we all mixed, young people and old people. I don't know if that's true of Irish culture in general, more than you would have in England and even Italy. My partner's Italian.
Yeah.
This genuine sort of convivial sharing time together, past mad generations in one room, you know, is something I grew up with, and I did always want to listen to the old people. I wanted to listen to their songs, and I wanted to earwig on what they were talking about, and I'd rather be sitting there than running around with the kids. And and some of them are going now, and they are different to the younger generations, and they'll be gone, and then we need to, you know, it'll probably drive me to do something like write a book, or I don't know. I feel like, to me, I love them. They're great. Sounds really patronising. I love old people, you know, that I do, genuinely.
How are the kids?
Grand. We live in Spain now. We live in Ibiza. Yeah.
And how are you in the heat?
In the heat, fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
It's supposed to be beautiful. I've never been there. It's supposed to be beautiful.
It's a beautiful place, yeah. It's really, really lovely. Well, my partner had the place there for 25 years. So we used to go all the time anyway. And then in the lockdown, we went, and then it was like, oh, why don't we just stay? It's lovely here.
Wow.
And I like it because I know other families, you know, and it's a small place, and it feels like Ireland, you know, like, because you're driving down the road and you see somebody on the other side of the road in the car, and you pull over and you go, oh, where are you going? Oh, I'm going, and then you might go for a drink with them, or, you know what I mean? Like, not how it was in London. London has great things about it too, and I miss it a bit.
Good luck with the road, and good luck with the music, and I'll see you down the road.
He's on my record, lads. Hit Parade, right? Go and get it and check him out. And actually, I'm going to sing a song for you tonight, Tommy.
What's it called?
It's called Can't Replicate, which is usually very pumpy, but we're doing it just with the acoustic guitar, so it's kind of like an unplugged version.
Okay, that'd be amazing. Thank you.
Okay, I'll go.
Thank you very much for watching this week, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope you enjoyed the show. And now, to finish off, please welcome Roisin Murphy performing Can't Replicate from the album Hit Parade.
Can't replicate you. The things that you know about me, nobody else knows about. There's a place where you can reach into me. Nobody else goes there. You must see something within me. Ain't nobody else sees it, no. The past doesn't matter on a Saturday night. And I won't let it get in our way. Yeah, we're all dancing in the shadow of time. And we can't know for how many days. I keep trying to make something, create and I can't replicate you. I let you see deep beneath the secret. Believe me, I eat, I sleep it, I need you, so don't you keep it, I love you. I let you see deep beneath the secret. Believe me, I eat, I sleep it, I need you, so don't you keep it, I love you. It's odd I should run into you just as I'm getting ready to run away, waiting for something. That thing is you. Baby, you found me before I found you. No, I can't replicate you. No, I can't replicate you. I let you see deep beneath the secret. Believe me, I eat, I sleep it, I need you, so don't you keep it, I love you. I let you see deep beneath the secret. Believe me, I eat, I sleep it, I need you, so don't you keep it, I love you. I let you see deep beneath the secret. Believe me, I eat, I sleep it, I need you, so don't you keep it, I love you. I let you see deep beneath the secret. Believe me, I eat, I sleep it, I need you, so don't you keep it, I love you. I let you see.
If you have been affected by any of the issues raised in tonight's episode of the Tommy Tiernan Show, please see rte.ie/support for details of helplines and support organisations, and that website address will be on screen in just a sec.
Mirai